All the attention is on his relationship with Tom Brady, who spoke yesterday about being a leader.
Well, I always try to have bring a positive impact to our locker room. And I had so many guys that I looked up to when I was a player. And when you start in the NFL, I started on a team with a lot of great veteran leaders and guys that really took me under their wing. Willie McGinnis, Teddy Bruschi, Troy Brown, Drew Bledsoe, just exceptional players, but great guys. And then over the years, when you transition from a younger player to an older player, you really want to see guys succeed and you want to see guys do well. And it's always about maximizing your potential.
So I feel like there's sort of a little picture and a big picture question here. The little picture question is about, Dominique, you had suggested that you wouldn't take a chance on Antonio Brown in almost any other circumstance. Does the fact that Brady is there influence your thinking at all?
No, I mean, it doesn't necessarily. I think Tom Brady is a great person to have in a locker room, and his presence, I think, does stabilize a lot of things for people who kind of respond to situations in traditional manners. Nothing suggests that Antonio Brown is someone who has done that consistently. I think that it's possible he can stay on the straight and narrow for the number of months it takes them from now to get to the Super Bowl, but I don't think it's going to be because Tom Brady is around him. I don't think that Tom Brady's presence is that strong, but I do think for the rest of the team, having the best quarterback of all time show up and show interest in you and show interest in you succeeding and telling you how to be as great as he is, I think that's something that's invaluable.
How about the rest of that locker room, Damian Woody, when Antonio Brown, he is now there and working with the team, which he can do, working up towards the end of his suspension, which will expire after they finish their game on Monday night. How about the rest of that locker room with AB?
Well, listen, I think most players will say, at the end of the day, can this play help us win football games? And now that remains to be seen because we haven't seen meaningful football from AB since 2018. I think that the biggest difference in this situation is the team can get rid of AB at any time if he doesn't act in a way that's for the betterment of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I do think that Tom Brady is just having a huge influence in this locker room. Listen, I think when you see a guy like Tom, guys watch, players like a Tom Brady day in and day out, how they prepare, in the meetings, in the weight room, on the practice field. And Tom Brady knows, just being up in New England, that your best football has to come now in November and December. And I'm sure he's echoing those sentiments with all the players in that locker room.
And Shefty, that brings me to the bigger picture piece of this, because I did an essay earlier. A year ago at this time, the Buccaneers were 2-5, and their quarterback had 15 turnovers. Now look at where they sit today. But I have people telling me that Brady's presence in the building has been more significant than his play on the field as far as what he has brought to that organization. What kinds of things are you hearing from people down in Tampa?
Well, exactly that. And I want to go to that point and extend it to Antonio Brown, because I just think, just like Tom Brady's gotten the rest of that team to elevate its performance, he's had an influence on them. I think he's going to do the same thing for Antonio Brown. I think Antonio Brown feels indebted to Tom Brady for Tom Brady looking out for him. I think Tom Brady has helped him out during the time that he was away from football. And just like the rest of the players there, which you're asking, Greeny, feel a certain sense of obligation not to disappoint the GOAT. I think the same is true of Antonio Brown, and it all goes together. And it's one of the reasons that this team is playing at the level it is now, why it's become one of the best teams in all of football, which it is right now, because the defensive side of the football, they elevate their play during practice because they get fired up to go against Tom Brady on a daily basis. Antonio Brown's excited to be there to take that veteran minimum deal with no guaranteed money, with a lot of incentives, because he gets to work with Tom. And you showed the highlight there of the one game they played together in New England. And you could see Antonio Brown go over and give him a big hug and how much it meant to him to do that with Tom Brady. And he talked after the fact of New England releasing him about how he was sorry to disappoint Tom Brady. He'd love to play with Tom Brady. Well, he's got that chance again right now, and I think he wants to make it right with Tom.
And Louis, you have them Monday night. In the last game, they'll play without AB. So as you're looking at the tape, what are you envisioning Antonio Brown will be for that team when he is on the field with them?
Well, he's a movable chess piece that also happens to be a surefire Hall of Famer, which really is a pretty good position to be in if you're the Tampa Bay Bucks and you're Byron Leftwich and you're Bruce Arians and you're Tom Brady, because right now, even without him, although, Chris Godwin's going to be out for the foreseeable future, we know he's going to be out this week. It could be longer with that fractured finger. The fact of the matter is they have got speed, they've got size, they've got running ability, they've got an offensive line that's playing well, and they've got Tom Brady. So when you put Antonio Brown into the mix, who quite honestly is uncoverable one-on-one, maybe uncoverable when you double team him, it's just like you can say whatever you want. I mean, just think of the rosiest scenario possible within the context of this offense, and that's what you're probably going to get as long as he takes care of things when he's not in Tom Brady's presence, which is going to determine everything for his future going forward.
Again, we'll see them on Monday night, and then Antonio Brown will be eligible to start working with them in full on Tuesday. Meanwhile, now to my favorite part of the show, we'll work our way towards On the Clock. 7 weeks in the NFL books. The MVP race is heating up. Tom Brady leading the league in touchdown passes since week 3, but Russell Wilson maintains his lead for the season. Aaron Rodgers leads the league in total QBR. The only blemish on his resume was a Week 6 loss in Tampa. So my first on-the-clock question this morning is for my friend Damian Woody. D. Wood, in your opinion, who's the MVP of the league right now? 45 seconds, go.
Yeah, Green, I'm going to go with Russell Wilson. I think that, although he had the hiccup against the Arizona Cardinals where he threw 3 interceptions, I think when you
in franchise history since Bob Greasy in 67. Now just a game out of first in the division. Tua gets his first start this weekend. Here he is talking about taking that first hit.
It's been a long time coming, but, I mean, that's just the nature of the game. I don't know what the hit's going to feel like. Every hit is different that you take in football. So I'm really not too sure. And I don't think you could ever prepare for hits. It's just something you got to go out knowing it's going to happen.
All right, so Dolphins-Rams, one of the really interesting games. And I have 3 separate questions that fascinate me about this return. Lewis, I'm going to start with you. And let's start with what he was talking about. If you haven't been hit in a football game since the last time, and that time you got seriously hurt, take me through the psychology of what that is like going back out onto that field the next time Tua doing it for his first time as a pro.
Well, I can only imagine that right now he just wants to, he's thinking, how am I going to feel after it's over? Am I going to be able to get up, get back into the huddle, and just get on with the next play? Because, the last time he was hit and he felt that kind of physical contact, I mean, he was in the kind of excruciating pain that would make many people consider just walking away from the game. And that I can only imagine what that would feel like. I've never been in that situation, and quite honestly, I was much more, the guy who was trying to deliver hits to people instead of take hits, you know what I mean? And I've never stood back there like a quarterback. So I think that the mental part of the game, the mental part of this for him is really significant. Because think about this too. Now, they're not just going up against any old team. Okay, number 99 from the Rams is one of those guys who will make quarterbacks really start playing mental gymnastics with themselves as far as how they play the position and how they physically react. And Brandon Staley, that defensive coordinator at the Rams, is one of those people who has been very multiple in terms of the types of looks he has been giving people. And it's not just 99. It's not just Aaron Donald that you see on your screen. Have you seen how much they've been blitzing Jalen Ramsey now that he plays the nickel position in their sub packages? And have you seen how Leonard Floyd has been rushing the passer? Have you seen how Michael Brockers, Ebukam, how all these guys have been playing? This is a formidable first start opponent for a quarterback who's coming off of a devastating injury, now putting the whole, the fortunes of a franchise on his back. That's a lot for anyone, but that's why they drafted him, and that's why that game is so intriguing.
And that brings me to my second question perfectly. And Damian Woody, as an offensive lineman, it's for you. Do you consider it risky to have his first game be against that guy, Aaron Donald?
Well, it's always a risk when you're lining up playing in the National Football League. But I think, the reason I like what Brian Flores did is this Miami Dolphins team is on the arrow pointing up. And what I mean by that is their performance. They've been performing well up front on the offensive line. They've been performing well on offense. So the one thing that you have to do, and particularly talking about Aaron Donald, you got to change the launch point. You can't sit back there and think that Tua is just going to drop back and just going to slice and dice his way against that Rams defense. Because guess what? The best player in football plays right in the middle of that offensive line. You're going to have to do some clever things offensively to give your young quarterback a chance. Play action game, rolling them out, just doing some different things So he doesn't have to see 99, because guess what? 99 is going to be, he's going to show up and he's going to be there all game long.
And Neek, that brings me to my final point, which is, Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow have been great, but they've been doing it with almost no pressure to win. Tua steps in and for a team could wind up being tied for first place if they win on Sunday. What do you think of that idea? The pressure that's on him to step in, expecting to win.
I think the pressure that's on him relative to the other rookie quarterbacks is enormous, but the pressure that's on him this week relative to the pressure that I think he sees in his future, like playoffs and Super Bowls, is nothing. So I wouldn't be concerned about him from a pressure standpoint, but I do think that this was an interesting move for a team that was pretty good, but thinks that it can be great in the near future. And that's the move that you make in that situation, is you get this guy some experience. The last time I remember something like this where you had a quarterback that you thought was good and you went to a quarterback that was great was the Ravens when they went from Flacco.
You